Everyone, welcome back to FSi DFS. I'm McKinley412 looking at the Monday 8-game slate here. So many pitchers that I'm going to have interest in here, and which kind of leads to some minimal bats that I have interest in. There's going to be two extremely chalky bat plays. Well, I don't know if they're going to be chalky because they're so expensive, Houston and the Dodgers. Spoiler alert. But yeah, so we'll go through, we'll break it all down, we'll go through each of the pitchers. We have the sheet for the rankings. And yeah, so let's just get started. Yamamoto, 10.5K. Certainly pricey, especially if you're going to be wanting to jam in those Dodgers bats or those Houston bats. It's going to be pretty difficult to jam Yamamoto in there. Kind of already highlighted and alluded to it, but there are so many pitching options. I feel like you could go double cheap pitcher if you really want to get these Dodgers in. So I don't think that one specific pitcher is just going to see a crazy amount of ownership. You're not going to get burned if you fade Yamamoto here. But 10.5K, a little bit of a tough price range, but he is facing off against Arizona as a right-handed pitcher. We like playing pitchers against Arizona who are right-handed, just because Arizona's team is so dominant against lefties. Can't seem to get it together versus right-handers so far this year. So Yamamoto, going to have some interest in him. Sonny Gray, right below him. He's got a very, very tough matchup facing off against Baltimore here. Do we like him more than Yamamoto? No. Do we like him more than Lopez? Also, probably not. But Lopez isn't in an ideal situation just because Washington as a team, yeah, they don't have the greatest offense, but they don't strike out much as a team either. So Lopez has some limited upside to him in that regard. But so I feel that Sonny Gray, even though he has a tough matchup, he's just such an elite dominant pitcher where regardless of the matchup, he's more than capable of getting you 25 DK points, which at a 10K salary, 25 DK points is what you're at least hoping for. Anything above that, awesome. So is he going to be owned? No, not really. Could he be a fantastic GPP play just because of how talented he is? Absolutely. Lopez, already talked about him, that, he's got an easier matchup facing off against Washington here. But at the same time, Washington just does not strike out a whole lot as a team. So a little less interested in because of that. And then right below them is going to be Gilbert, and Gilbert's going to be my least favorite of these four. So looking at like the high salary, I do have him ranked like this. Even though Lopez has a tougher strikeout matchup, I think that, just given the matchup in general, Washington does not scare me as much as Baltimore does. But I really have interest in all of these guys, to put it shortly. Going into the mid-tier, Bradley and Houck, we got a rematch. These guys actually just played each other just the other day. Wow, I'm struggling to find them in the list here. Here we go. Dodge Bradley and Tanner Houck. So Bradley, like I mentioned, he just played this Boston team 5 days ago. Did pretty well. This is a guy who has elite strikeout capabilities. He's like a super high pitching prospect as well. 8K is just too cheap for him. There is some hesitancy with playing a pitcher on a back-to-back against the team, meaning he just played Boston. He's playing Boston again. There's a little bit of reluctancy with that, but I feel like he's still going to be able to do fairly well with it. He's going to be able to get his strikeouts. I'm not super interested in the Boston bats here. I do have them ranked as a top team here, but honestly, they're more so of a leftover top. And also I did give the Boston bats a little bit of a boost because they are going to be playing Bradley 2 times in a row. Or Bradley's going to be playing them 2 times in a row. And I have a little bit of hesitancy with pitchers with that. How the exact same thing. He's facing off against Tampa Bay. Great pitcher. But it's the hesitancy of the back-to-back against the same team. Whereas I feel like these bats are going to be fresh into knowing what he's going to be throwing. Into knowing what he's going to be throwing. So I gave a little bit of a boost to the Tampa Bay bats, a little bit of downgrade into the Boston pitcher Houck. So still, I don't know where to go for this game. I don't know if I'm putting too much stock in the back-to-back and boosting the bats a little bit too much, because these are two very talented pitchers who at their price points in any other slate, I'd be yeah, I definitely have interest in them. So I'm trying to say that, yeah, I like both of these pitchers still, but I do like the bats a little bit as well. Stroman, great. strikeout upside matchup. He's a pitcher facing off against Seattle. I mean, any pitcher facing off against Seattle seems to be having like their best strikeout game of the season. So I'm gonna have interest in Stroman. I do have him ranked below Houck and Bradley just because I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I don't trust Stroman personally in terms of like DFS. So that's why I do have him a little bit downgraded here. And then Valdez, he's fine. He's just like a high ground ball pitcher facing off against an Angels team that doesn't really scare me too much. They are scrappy, though. Megaroller brought it up in our Discord the other day. He brought up the Angels as kind of like the Bad News Bears. Never actually seen the movie. Full disclosure, but he was like, it's just a bunch of like ragtag kind of guys who are just scrappy and won't go down without a fight, and you feel like they're not going to do well, but then they just keep proving you wrong time and time again. So is that the premise of the movie? I don't know. I'm just picturing like kids in like yellow uniforms and a bad coach. I don't know. I might not even be thinking of the movie, but either way, Valdez, high ground ball rate pitcher, good matchup. He's totally fine. And you can quickly see how, like, I have interest in all 8 of these pitchers so far. And then you'll see I have interest in all 4 of the cheap pitchers as well. Like, there's really not many fade guys. These are your fade guys. But typically on these sheets, like once you get like to the bottom level of these salary, like you don't have too much interest in them. I have interest in like all 12 of these guys essentially, which is just absolutely insane for such a small slate. But Dean Kramer's going to be leading off the charge here in the cheap salary tier. He's just been so consistent, doing very well. Got a nice matchup. Excuse me. Facing off against St. Louis. St. Louis bats looking a little bit better, but I'm not going to take too much stock into that. One thing you do have to be paying attention to with Kramer is the walk rate. A little bit concerning. St. Louis doesn't walk a whole lot as a team, though. So I think with the consistency, with the strikeout upside that Kramer does bring, I'm going to be having some interest in him here as my top guy. Joe Ross, just a nice matchup. Any pitcher that you can get facing off against Miami below 6K, with 20 plus DK point upside? Absolutely. Am I expecting what he did in the last game against Pittsburgh? No, not really. Am I expecting 20 DK points? No. But he's more than capable of getting 15 DK points for sure in this matchup. At 5.8K, let's do a quick math. 6, 12, 15. You're looking for 15 DK points. Can he get you there? Absolutely. Just said it. I'm going to have some interest in Joe Ross there. I think it could be a nice pivot off of Kramer, who I think is probably going to be the more popular option. But 5.8K, this is the guy who's going to be able to get you those Dodgers bats and those Houston bats, which are just in dream spots here. After them, Waka and Olsen, I think facing off against each other, KC and Detroit. Going to have interest in both of them. Olsen, he's been looking really solid this year. I mean, he's averaging almost 18. He's very consistent. He's got a nice matchup going up against KC. Well, is it a nice matchup? It was last month when he got 26 DK points. But I don't know. I really do like these KC bats just in general as a team. Forget this slate. Just overall, I like the KC offense. So it does downgrade him a little bit more. But I mean, Olsen could also be a nice, great pivot off of Kramer. If indeed Kramer is getting the ownership that I'm kind of expecting him to get, I don't know. I feel like he's going to be popular. But Olsen can certainly be right there. And then Waka. Yeah. Not much to talk about that. I think he's fine. Detroit shouldn't be a team that scares you, but you can also see that here that I have Detroit as one of my favorite GPP teams. They just got so many left-handed bats who I think can really get to Waka, and I don't think they're going to see a whole lot of ownership. So heading off towards the bats, it's going to be Dodgers and Houston, and then just like a canyon, and then Minnesota, in my opinion. So Dodgers are facing off against Ciccone. Ciccone, fly ball pitcher, just cannot induce any like soft contact. So you're talking about these Dodgers bats against a fly ball pitcher who allows a lot of hard contact. This could get really ugly really quick. It's going to be the lefties that you're going to be targeting here, or that I would be targeting here. So like Ohtani and Freeman. Let's see, Muncy's on the IL. Hayward, 3.3K, very affordable. Even Lux at 3.1. So like you can see that like they are affordable to an extent, but if you wanted to be getting a guy like Mookie Betts in there, who cares about lefty-righty matchups with Mookie Betts? Like, he's Mookie Betts. He's going to be doing absolutely phenomenal. So if you go massive Dodgers stack, and we'll take out one of the cheap guys, just to see where we stand with like salary price point, trying to jam in these top 3 guys, and then a super cheap guy like Joe Ross. Let's throw in Olsen here. 4K remaining. It's possible, but you're going to have to go double cheap pitcher. Like, if you go even more into the mid-tier with, like, Stroman, 3.6, it gets a little bit tougher, but it's certainly possible. But you really need to fade, like, these top pitchers, because you jam in one of these guys, and it's going to get much tougher real quick. Yeah, 2.6K if you want to get, like, a top tier and then just a mid-tier price point. So go cheap hunting, go to Kramer, go to Ross, Olsen. Any of those guys are certainly fine to get in this massive Dodgers stack. Houston, kind of the same deal, facing off against Detmers, who he's just like falling off a cliff. I don't know what's going on with him so far this season. But lefties, righties, it doesn't matter. I mean, you got Tucker and Alvarez are the lefties in this lineup, but they're some of the 2 best left-handed hitting bats against left-handed pitching in the entire league, and then the rest of the lineup is just chock full of righties. I do believe that McCormick could be back here coming off the IL. Yeah, he had a rehab start on Sunday. Should be back with the team here tonight. So always interested in McCormick. I wish he wasn't as pricey at 4.3. I feel like McCormick's kind of routinely always been more of like a 3.6 to 3.8 kind of hitter. So it is kind of disappointing that he did get the price bump there. But honestly, Houston, can't go wrong with really any of the bats there. And they're going to be a little bit more affordable than these Dodgers bats are. I already talked about Detroit. They're going to be like my favorite GPP stack on the entire day, facing off against Waka. They just have a lot of lefty bats that I think can do some serious pop. It's going to be Green, Perez, Carpenter. And then if you want to go down, let's see, where is he? Colt Keith. Am I blind here? Why can I not find him? There we go. 2.4. Was he there? I gotta check here. He is right there. Oh my gosh, yeah. I am blind. Cool, Keith. So like these are the 4 guys that I would be. Excuse me. I'm getting over some cold illness once again. You can thank my daughter's daycare for it. But Cole Keith, these are going to be the 4 guys I'm going to have interest in. Detroit, in this regard, is kind of like the Yankees, and I mentioned in our Discord yesterday, I hate when the Yankees are like the popular team on the slate. Or not the popular, but like the go-to team on the slate, because all of like the favorite bats are all outfielders or outfield eligible. So it's really tough to like jam and stack them with somebody with another team that like, because trying to find a team to stack with a team that's taking up all the outfield spots is pretty difficult. But it is certainly possible. But Cole Keith, he struggled, but this is one of the top prospects in the organization for sure in terms of hitting. He's going to come around at some point. And then Green, Perez, and Carpenter, they all bring the home run upside and just the power upside that I think can get you into like a GPP takedown. Tampa Bay, Boston, right behind them in terms of like GPP, just because I feel like I said, Bradley Houck, they're fantastic pitchers, but at the same time, the back-to-back starts that they are going to be facing against the same team. And I put Tampa Bay more so over Boston in terms of the GPP. He pitched 112 pitches last start out. I don't know. I'd be a little bit concerned because he's typically more like the 90 to 95 range. So 112 was way out of the ordinary for him. Maybe he's got a weaker arm here today. Didn't get the full recovery that he was hoping for, or an extra day's rest that he was hoping for. So I think Tampa Bay maybe could be a nice team in that regard. So it gets really mushy with the bats after the Dodgers and with Houston. Like, you can make a case for many of these bats just because they're all so just jumbled together. There's not a whole lot to like, just because there's so much to like with the pitching. So that's kind of where the slate breaks out. I don't think that there's going to be like super high ownership in terms of any of these pitchers by any means. I think you do have to go a little bit cheaper just to get in these Dodgers bats and the Houston bats. But at the same time, it means low ownership on guys like Yamamoto, who are in a nice spot. Yeah, I don't know. Could be intriguing. Play a bunch of lines, get different. Don't be afraid to get different on this slate, because there's no reason why one pitcher should be super highly owned. Good luck on your contest. As always, Megalore is going to be having you guys in a video preview tomorrow. He's also going to be taking the Wednesday early slate as well. So good luck in your contest, and we'll see you in the next one.